let's talk about how the left is starting to roll back their support for cancel culture now that they've realised that they have, in fact, created a tool that can be used by anyone, and it only works when you have the cultural zeitgeist, and now they're losing the cultural zeitgeist. They're like, well, hang on a second, guys. I thought cancel culture was a force for good. I didn't want me to be cancelled. I didn't want the government coming after me for the terroristic things I'm doing. I can't believe that we weren't allowed to just weaponize this against our political enemies when they were in the wilderness, and now they're coming back and starting to win against us. We're the ones who are going to be forced out and cancelled and deplatformed and debanked and find ourselves harassed in public and attacked by the press, the activists, and then possibly even the state itself. That's not what we signed up for. And it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have been part of the group that were creating the conditions for this to happen. So let's begin with Ash Sarkar, Miss We're Winning Lads, because the ethnic minorities were displacing the white British from their ancient capital. She has had some seriously strong opinions about cancel culture, as in, it's not real, actually. This is from 2020.
But what it does speak to is the fact that young people who tend to hold progressive values are able to shape and determine culture through informal kinds of power.
The worker.
Right, so she is saying here, yes, cancel culture exists. Yes, it is people online who create a giant hate mob, harass companies, harass whatever it is that they're trying to get someone cancelled from, and they get them cancelled. And of course, we have many high-profile examples of cancel culture. Nigel Farage is a good one with the debanking, although he beat that, which is nice. But I think the best one is probably Tommy Robinson, who, on the strength of just nothing, frankly, he was deplatformed from everything. He was debanked, he was taken off all of social media, and he was basically considered sort of persona non gratis for his opposition to the grooming gangs. And when challenged on this, a Facebook representative said, well, it wasn't any one post that he'd made that made us take it down, but the general sort of tenor of his content, which is ironic because the excuse they'd given is that he had put up a post on Facebook calling for the beheading of the followers of Muhammad. Now, obviously, that doesn't exist. Otherwise, there'd be pictures of it everywhere, be screen grabs of it everywhere. But the pretense that, oh, there's no such thing as cancel culture. Well, here's Ash explaining what it is, actually, and why it's a good thing.
Sinks to the level of a commodity.
Ew, he's a capitalist.
It's the remix.
So what that means is what's often dismissively referred to as identity politics is actually quite powerful on the cultural terrain, even if that power hasn't been translated into material socioeconomic justice in terms of race or gender equality.
Right, so there, she is saying that it is a powerful force that she is prepared to help harness, even if that power hasn't resulted in direct material gain. As in, and this is her definition of social justice, redistribution of wealth, power, and land along the axes of race, class, and gender. So, sure, she hasn't achieved the intersectional social justice that she's looking for, but she recognises that cancel culture is something that the intersectional left and their activists online can weaponize against people in order to get them closer to that position. And this is precisely what she said in a 60 minutes interview back in 2021, where she said it was an important tool of social justice. This isn't mob rule.
I think what's different here is that you have this extreme paranoia on the part of people who used to feel quite comfortable, with their place at the top of the table, leading the country's conversation, and are now feeling a bit threatened by the fact that audiences can talk back.
High-profile activist and journalist Ash Sarkar isn't afraid to take PS on. She says cancelling is not a new form of mob rule, but an important tool of social justice.
And, of course, she would think that. And while they were winning, my goodness, weren't they singing? This, from when I ran from 2019, from when I ran as an MEP for UKIP, this was when they realised, oh, right, so we can actually get mobs of hateful leftists out in the street to physically attack our opposition. And Ash Sarkar thought this was a bloody brilliant idea. Which, I mean, this is just... I mean, you'd think it's completely unacceptable for any kind of democratic political debate, but not according to Ash. Let's watch this.
After his policing in Newcastle, Nigel Farage was too spooked to get off the campaign bus in Wakefield. So really, this form of civil disobedience, which doesn't cause any injury, has proved more effective at reshaping the media narrative than debating him in the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah. So, intimidating your opposition with physical attacks on them is actually completely fine, and when they're winning, they're happy to mock you, they're happy to engage in it, and they're happy that you are the ones being silenced. They're happy that Tommy's going to jail. They're happy that people you like are being deplatformed. They're happy, they're thrilled. They thought they were going to drive the right out of politics using this tool, which is why they promoted it and why they mocked the right for complaining that they were being discriminated against politically by the left. Well, things have changed, right? Time has come around. Now, I'm not thrilled that it is on the subject of Israel that people on the left are being cancelled, but I have to say it is mildly satisfying to watch them going, well, hang on, guys. I never thought cancel culture would come from me. As you can see from Andrew Neil mocking Bob Villain here. Heard you want your visa back? Huh, shut the F up, because, of course, Marco Rubio just came out and goes, you're not coming to America. Your US tour is cancelled. No visa for you. And then you've got Ash Sarkar going, well, Andrew Neil was against cancel culture. He called it insidious and stands against everything we've stood for since the Enlightenment onwards. Well, Ash, that would be more sympathetic if I thought that you were also against cancel culture. And this wasn't literally just the Frank Herbert quote from Dune, where he says, well, when I'm oppressed, I argue for freedom because it is in line with your principles. But when I am in charge, I oppress you because it is in line with my principles. Everyone knows you are not for free speech. You are not for free politics. You are not for the necessary requirement to be opposed to cancel culture. You were, in fact, in favour of it. And you were in favour of it not very long ago. This was only a few years ago, Ash. It's not like this is something that is ancient history. That you're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. But like, you know, that was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm not the same now. Fair enough, I'd agree. And it's because they think it's going to happen to them. I mean, look at Owen Jones's face in this.
They're going to send some of us to jail. That's where this is heading.
Oh, welcome to the club, Owen. Welcome to the club. Some of the people on the right have been to jail as well, and that's where it was for us. And we have laboured under the threat, the looming threat, the sword of Damocles of the politically correct regime being like, right, okay, we've had enough of you, you're going to jail. You've said something we don't like, and we're going to just maliciously interpret it as X, Y, or Z according to whatever hate speech law, the Malicious Communications Act, and now you're going to jail as well. In fact, I mean, look at the Southport riots as just the most classic example. Owen Jones, not opposed to any of that. Now, when it's like, oh, well, I'm not happy with what Israel's doing, and we're going to oppose that, well, now you're going to jail as well. Yep, too bad.
People who peacefully oppose one of the worst crimes of our age, some of us are going to go to prison.
Great. Superb. Can't wait. No sympathy whatsoever from me, Owen, actually, to be honest, and don't care. Don't care at all. Again, I can't tell you how fundamentally I think you fully deserve it, because you created the environment where this sort of thing would happen. And the sort of little Navarra media crowd, yeah, this is what you get. No, like, it's one of those, first they came for the right-wingers, and I said nothing. Then they came for Tommy Robinson, and I said nothing. And then they came for me, and there was no one to speak out for me. Yeah, well, too bad. That's just too damn bad, isn't it? You know? Now the shoe is on the other foot. You don't like it. And so what does Ash Sarkar do? Well, the only sensible thing she can do is, well, hang on a second, guys. I'm not for woke leftism. Why would you think I was for woke leftism? I don't care about that. That's silly politics, isn't it? It's like, well, only when you weren't winning, right? When you thought you were winning, it wasn't silly politics. It was full on, this is what we need for social justice. Now that this time has passed, everyone's like, no, it's the behavior, right? It doesn't even matter what you're asking for. We're not having that. We're not going to be engaging with that. The people who do that are actually not good people. And when they're going after Israel, well, they might go after Israel a bit too hard, mightn't they? They might commit acts of terrorism, like attacking a military base. And they might end up going to jail for it. And so, I'm not a woke leftist, guys. No, what you are is a coward, right? What you are is not standing by what you actually believe. Because what we know is what you actually believe. Because there's tons of content. There's tons of content that you guys have made over the last decade that explain to us exactly what you mean. And what you mean is we are for the ethnic displacement and reduction to the second tier of citizenship of the native British people in their own country, and the elevation of non-white and minority groups in Britain over you with a suite of hate speech laws that are designed to hold you down and criminalise you if you speak out of turn. We know that that's what you're for, because you've been explicit about it up until this point. I mean, this is the thing. Like, pronouns, microaggressions, and all this. These were all vectors along which you could squirrel out the people who are not perfectly in line with progressive politics and punish them. That was the point of all of this. And now that's not going to work. And not only it's not going to work, the people who are trying to advance that are going to be the ones who are selected against. You're like, well, hang on, I'm not in favour of that. I was never in favour of that. I mean, that's not what I'm after. I don't think that's healthy. Is this really how we should do things in a democratic society? I mean, this event in 2019 is related to my demonetization. I got all my channels demonetized for 5 years after being assaulted at the UKIP campaign. So, like, I'm the victim of their attack on me, and then YouTube's like, yeah, and we're also going to punish you even further. It's like, right, and what happened to the people who threw milkshakes at us? Nothing. They didn't get punished at all. Because the zeitgeist of the era was different to now. And they know things are different. They know that this is not going to be the way of the future. And they also know that actually there are sacred cows that they still can't topple.